Welcome to Father and Son, and welcome to you, Tom.
Morning, Dad.
Where's your tie?
I've left it.
Come into this place without a tie on, I tell you, the standards are slipping.
Well, we are filming this in Melbourne. Now, obviously, we've been hearing about the floods up in Queensland. We've actually got a bit of minor flooding here in Victoria as well.
We do.
But the really unusual thing is the humidity down here. Now, a couple of days ago, it was 86%. I think today it's pushing 90. That is tropical style humidity in a temperate part of the country. It's very, very odd. So that's why I'm not wearing a tie, because it is like the tropics outside.
I'll just make sure you've got it back on next week when the humidity goes down.
I will.
We've got to keep standards up in this community. Now, what did you do at the weekend? We had a great weekend. We were up in Rutherglen for an open air wedding on the Murray River. It was a fantastic weekend. We had a recovery. When I got home Sunday night, it was a 2-day wedding. I needed a good night's sleep to recover.
To recover from the recovery. Well, yeah. I work on the weekend, so I don't engage in that sort of hedonistic lifestyle that you do.
No, but the other interesting thing is on the Sunday morning, the wedding was on the Saturday, the Pope turned up to give the couple a blessing, which was fantastic. So all round we had a very, very funny weekend. And I'll tell you one thing, we stayed at a place called the Carlisle Bed and Breakfast. And if you go to Rutherglen, you couldn't find a better place. The food was terrific and I was very impressed. Right, let's get on to serious matters, Tom. The floods, you know, what a disaster. From Toowoomba down to Brisbane. I mean,
Ipswich.
Ipswich. Now, we've been arguing for a long, or I've been arguing for a long time, that we've got to connect up the Murray-Darling system with the excess water in the north. We now also need to do it to protect these cities. Now, Joe Jelke, when they built that big dam back in the early 80s, he said Brisbane will never flood again. But what the idiots did was they had it so full when this rain came that the dam did nothing to protect Brisbane at all. Very, very bad management in my view.
Well, it's quite astonishing. A couple of days ago, the Wivenhoe Dam, is the dam you're talking about, peaked at, get this, 191% of capacity. Now, it's sort of hard to imagine if you look at a vessel and say, well, you double that. I mean, obviously it flows over the side. That's obviously what's been happening. And they've got Hobbs' choice up there at the moment. They have to release more water from the dam, otherwise it could be badly affected structurally. So that's more pain for the communities downstream, but they can't keep letting the water pile up upstream. So you're right. But to be fair, when they built that dam, you know, it's the same in Victoria. They built the Thomson Dam, and they said, we'll never need this, it's just insurance for the future. Well, of course, it got to, you know, a very tiny fraction of its capacity during the drought. No one thought that you'd see a La Nina weather event of the type that we've seen over the past couple of months in Queensland. So,
although Queensland had one in 1974 and they had one in 1893.
Yeah, but the difference is now, of course, is that you've got that many more people living along the floodplain. Now, we found this with the bushfires 2 years ago in Victoria. The big question that had to be asked and is still being answered is, you know, should people live in an area, in Victoria's case, where bushfires are a known event? They occur every 20 years or so and can be catastrophic, as we saw on Black Saturday. Same thing in Queensland and, of course, around Brisbane.
You can't prescribe life for, you know, the 1 in 100 year flood that takes place.
Well, it's happening right. It's being prescribed by nature as we speak, Dad.
I agree.
So what I'm saying is though, another interesting thing, if you look at old Queensland style houses, they were built on stilts. All the modern houses are built on slabs. Clearly they were not built, you know, whether a flood is 1 in 100 years or 1 in 30 years, they're not building flood-proof structures anymore. So I think some of the lessons from the past are having to be relearned.
Well, they'll need some more dams, and they've got to connect up the Murray-Darling headwaters. That's the Darling headwaters. Now, if we can do that, we are going to solve two great problems. One, you won't have these cities flooding again. I think part of it's management, and the other thing is you'll solve the environmental problem of the Murray-Darling system, which is non-existent now because it's full, but you'll solve that so they won't have to take the 4,000 gigalitres they want to take out for the environment, because we can feed water down continually, and that will protect all the cities along the Murray and the Darling, whose agriculture will be diminished if all that water is taken away from them, and the cities along those rivers will in fact not decline anywhere near as much, and they're having a tough time.
Well, there's a very interesting debate that's going to be had. I mean, right now we're still dealing with the here and now, the floods. Of course, tens of billions of dollars are going to be spent on reconstruction. Some of that will come from insurance, some will come from donations, some will come just from companies themselves, and some, of course, will come from households.
Well, most of it will come from the federal government.
Well, I think it will have to. In fact, it's interesting, I said in the market report, which is elsewhere on the website, that most of the major insurance companies do not offer and have not offered flood cover up there. So if people are going to be thinking insurance is going to pay for the damage, it probably isn't. No. But there will be billions of dollars spent, and of course it's like when you have an Olympic Games, curiously, when you suddenly say, right, well, we've got to spend all this money, there should be, and it's a chance for a good debate to say, well, what should we spend it on and what should we do differently now compared to what we've done in the past. And so I think, in a sense, that's some of the good that will come out of what is an unmitigated disaster at the moment.
More dams, connect the Murray-Darling system up with the excess water. They're the two critical things. Another
funny thing, there was a helicopter hovering over Suncorp Stadium, which is where they played with the Rugby League State of Origin, and the commentator said, and here it is, Australia's premier sports stadium, Suncorp Stadium. And I said, well, I thought to myself, there are places like the MCG and the SCG and so forth that possibly have a greater claim to that title. And Suncorp's under several metres of water now.
Well, now the Australian today says that the cost is going to cost the economy $12 billion. Now this is going to have an effect, I think, on the government trying to get break even in 3 years' time.
Yeah.
Very difficult. A lot of infrastructure to rebuild, whether it be rail, roads, bridges. It's going to be big costs, and that takes a lot of time. The coal exports are falling away in the short term. They'll pick that up later, no doubt. But that whole system is at full capacity anyway, so I think it could be lost forever. So what do you think the economic costs are going to be as a result of this?
Well, in the short term, March quarter GDP is going to be down. It looks like at least 1%. That is, whatever it was going to be, it'll be 1% lower, possibly more. However, the reconstruction effort, and there will be a reconstruction effort, there'll be a debate about who pays for it, but as you say, it'll be mainly the federal government. That will actually add to GDP. In fact, there's a bit of a problem looming, because already what's happening in WA with the mining boom is pushing up demand for workers and so forth. Queensland's going to have the same thing. So I think towards the end of 2011, you'll actually see economic activity go up, but in the short term it'll be negative.
And along with it, another problem will occur, and that'll be skill shortages.
Yes.
Because I don't know what, to get carpenters, builders, etc. It's just going to be very costly.
It will indeed.
If I had a business, the business I'd like to have now is carpet laying and carpets. There's going to be a hell of a lot of them needed.
Yeah, there will be.
Well, so much for the father and son this week. We'll see you all next week, and we'll know a little more.